So I will start with my introduction. As you guys already know, my name is Yash, and I'm currently working with InfosecTrain as a cybersecurity analyst and trainer. Talking about my experience, I have a 2+ years of experience, like overall experience in software programming and cybersecurity. So I started my career as a software programmer. Then I generated a keen interest in your security part. So I shifted my profession from programming to your cybersecurity. And right now I'm working with cloud security in your Azure domain. Over these years, I have like worked for multiple organizations for their network architect and design, your VAPT. Right now, I'm working for cloud and application security. So when it comes to like overall knowledge, I'm very good with your programming languages like your Java, C++, Python. Other than that, I have a keen interest in your AI and ML. Talking about my certifications, I am certified from various vendors for different courses. If I talk about your CompTIA, I'm certified in A plus, Security plus, Network plus. I am also certified from EC Council in your CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, and I have multiple certifications for your Azure and AWS. Right. So this particular JCP here, if I talk about the agenda, right? So before we discuss the agenda, that what we'll be learning in the upcoming days, this complete week. Talking about the agenda, since this is for each and every individual, right? We don't have a prerequisite to learn cloud. So we will be starting with the basic introduction that what cloud is, what are the different models, what are the services that is available with your cloud, so that everyone can get a basic idea that what they are learning, right? So can you please paste? Okay. Yeah, I will paste it over this particular chat session, the Telegram ID of this particular link, right? Right at the end of this particular session, right? So we will start with the basics so that everyone can get at the same page. If someone is attending this particular cloud, or if someone is learning the cloud for the very first time, he can get a very good idea that what actually cloud is, right? So we'll start with the basics, and then we'll learn the cloud through your Azure environment, right? We'll be focusing on Azure technologies, how we can use your Azure platform for your cloud operations. We will learn about different container technologies like your virtual machines, what are containers, Dockers, microservices, your serverless computing, and what are the security challenges regarding all these technologies, right? And at the very end, we will discuss like what we already discussed. We will till the last or second last session, we will already have a basic idea, right? What cloud is, how to use the cloud. So at the end, we will talk about cloud security, right? What are the threats that we face in your cloud environment? What are different vulnerabilities that are present? How an attacker can attack a cloud environment, right? We will discuss each and everything. And since we are talking with respect to security, right? We all are security people. So we will learn how to control that, how to mitigate all those threats, vulnerabilities, and attack. Right? What are the tools available? What all countermeasures you can use to defend all these attacks? Right. So this will be the agenda for the next 5 days. Our today's agenda will be to learn the basics of cloud. Right. So today we'll be talking about what cloud is. Right. What cloud computing is, what are the services available in your cloud, what are the different cloud models, right? Basic stuff, right? So that everyone can get at the same page, right? So the first question comes, right? Whenever we talk about cloud, what actually your cloud is, right? Your cloud model will be delivered to you, all the cloud concept will be delivered to you, your Azure cloud service, right? We will discuss your Azure platform. HP is saying I'm from network side. Is it easy for me? Yes, we are starting with the basics only. We will like not. There is no prerequisite for this particular cloud part, right? I will say that. Okay, we will start with the basics so that you can get at the same page with the other people if you are new to this. Azure platform, we will learn. Okay, we will learn your cloud with your Azure platform for this particular webinar. Now, the first question comes, what is cloud computing, right? So let me like create a scenario so that you guys will easily understand, right? You guys want to create a similar application, right? So one day you all guys decided that okay, let's create an application very similar to Tinder because it's for fun, it's very cool, and many users are using that application, right? So we can say that that application is hosted at a very large scale, right? So you guys decided that okay, we will also create a very similar application like that, right? So before we create a application, we have to take things, certain things under consideration, right? We'll be talking about your network part, right? Before we create any application or when we try to start any organization, we have to look at certain things, right? The first part is your network part. Then we will need to purchase your servers to host that particular application. You will also need backup systems. You will need a complete infrastructure, right, where you will be hosting all these things under a single roof, right? So there will be multiple consideration, right? Four things I already told. You will look at your network sector, your backup systems. You will be needing servers. You will be needing infrastructure, right, where you will be hosting all these things. So we can say that we will be needing n number of things to host a organization or to host a web application, right? Now we have gathered all the resources, we have gathered all the n number of resources, and we have built our own infrastructure, right? Till now, no problem is there. Now the major problem comes, that is your cost. The major problem which we face is your cost. To gather all the things under a single roof, cost will play like the major factor here. You have to maintain the hardwares, you have to maintain the softwares, you have to take care of your security, you have to provide constant updates to the devices that you are using, right? Your patch management. You have to set a backup system, right? You have to maintain your backup systems also so that your data recovery becomes very easy, right? Cost becomes very high when we try to build these things, when we try to build and maintain your data center, right? Your application is completed, right? So for the initial 1 month, 100 people are using, right? Now for the next month, your application got a hit. The scaling of your application went from 100 to 1 lakh, or we can say 100,000, right? The scaling went this much high. Now, since you were only having a single infrastructure, right? You were holding all these resources under single roof. To maintain from 100 to 100,000, you have to instantly double or we can say triple all the resources you were using right now. Otherwise, chances are there that your application can get crashed, right? Very high chances that your application will get crashed if at that particular moment only you did not tripled or doubled all your resources, right? So scaling plays a major factor. when we talk about your on premises, scaling plays a major factor, right? Because last night you only 100 users were using your application, and next day all of the sudden 100,000 people started using your application. So even you have no idea that how this thing happened, right? So you have to like create a backup scaling system, right? Right now if I give you one application or a software and I tell you guys that okay, we will be needing this particular application for the next 5 days. If you look at the prerequisite of that particular application, that instead of 4 GB, that application will be needing 8 GB of RAM, that application will be using 150 or let's just say 200 GB of your hard disk space, right? So if you guys don't have this particular thing, right, your machine will not be able to run that particular application, right? So what you will do, either you will purchase a new laptop for you for just 5 days to use this particular thing on premises to elastic cloud, yes. So or what you will do, like if I tell you about this particular 8 GB, like the basic price for this is around 60,000, right? So just for 5 days you are spending around 60,000 rupees, your INR, right? Just to run that particular application, right? So sometimes scaling becomes very difficult to maintain. Then we created your cloud computing. Now what cloud computing is, it's the on-demand delivery of IT resources, right? Whatever resources we gathered under a single roof, under a single infrastructure, we have we are using this particular thing on demand over the internet, and we will be only paying for the services which we are using at that particular time, right? So for this particular example, when I told you guys to run, we will be using this particular application for the next 5 days, right? So instead of buying a new laptop which is around 60,000 INR, what you guys can do, you can purchase a instant of a operating system which is having 8 GB of RAM and 150 GB of space for the next 5 days. And let's just say the cost of this particular instant of the operating system is around 2000 INR, right? So you can see that you will easily save around 58,000, right? So this is why people are shifting to cloud computing, right? For your scaling part, right? If I was running this particular application, or if I was hosting this particular application over your cloud, all the resources were available just at a single click, right? If next day with this 100,000, let's just say 100,000 more users were added, right? So I can easily purchase all the resources at a single click. Your computing, your networking, your storage, your analytics, right? I can purchase all these things at a single click. And all of the sudden, if people stop using these things, I can stop the services also, right? So that is why it is pay as you go service, your cloud computing. Now if I talk about what are the different compute things, what are the networking part, what are the storage things that are available here, right? So when we talk about your compute things, we are talking about your computing factors. We are in your cloud, we are talking about this here as your computing factors, your operating systems, right? Your VMwares, your Kubernetes, your batch management, your container instance, your functions, right? These things will be under this particular category, your compute part. When we talk about your networking, we'll be talking about your networking devices like your load balancers, your application gateways, your VPN gateways, DNS, your express route, your firewalls, right? All the things which are related to your networking part. Someone said Capex and OpEx, right? Exactly, right? We will discuss that part also. Then storage part. Storage is nothing but where you are storing your data, right? So for, if I say for your Azure, we have a separate database which your Azure is hosting, and other than that, we have all the common storage systems which your Azure also hosts, right? So we can say we have your blob one, we have your file storage, we have your table storage, right? Where we can store your data for that particular application or the organization which we are collecting the data for. Then in your analytics part, your IoTs, your AI, your ML, right? These things come, right? So we have gathered all the resources and we have put this thing under a single roof, right? I gathered all these resources, I have put this on a single roof. Now, when someone want to access this particular resource, he can pay for the service and he can use this particular thing, just like you're renting your cars, right? So if you want to travel from one place to another, right, what you guys do, you simply rent a car and you only pay for the distance that you are traveling, right? It is very similar to that only. You pay for the service, and if you are paying, if you are using that particular service for, let's just say, 1 day or 2 day, you will be paying for that part only, right? So mostly we pay for the hourly basis, right? If you are using for 2 hours, you will pay for that. If you are using for 6 hours, you will pay for that, right? So the charges are set according to your hourly basis. Different things have different charges, and according to your location also charges matters, right? So this is what cloud computing is, right? This is what cloud is. On demand delivery of different IT resources over the internet, enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economic of scale, right? Flexible, easily available whenever you want, faster innovation. Anything which is new in the market, it will be available in your cloud environment. Anything. Economics, pay as you go service, right? You only pay for what you are using. If you have stopped using that particular service, you don't have to pay for that, right? So you can see the difference only. For just 5 days, you were spending your 60,000 INR rupees, right? But when you start using that particular same incident over your cloud, you were only spending 2,000 for that particular thing, right? So you literally saved around 58,000, right? So you can see how much it can benefit in terms of your economics. Then these are the top 10 cloud service providers for your 2021, right? So your AWS was the first one to bring this particular cloud computing. It came around 2006. Around 2006, your AWS came. Then your Azure came around 2010, and your Google Cloud around 2013, right? So these are the top three cloud providers right now, right? There is a lot of hype around the market when it comes to your AWS, your Azure, and Google Cloud, right? Because these three are your top vendors when it comes to cloud services, right? People like learn a lot about AWS. There are different areas, different certifications for your Azure, your Google Cloud, for AWS, right? And people are doing that because right now we are moving from on-premises to cloud, right? You will see that major companies are moving from on-premises to cloud, right? Even your Netflix is hosted over your AWS, right? So you can think that on what scale your AWS is working, that they are hosting a FANG organization, which is your Netflix. So there is a lot of demand when we talk about your cloud professionals, a lot of demand. And even in the upcoming years, we can see that that ratio will go a lot high, right? There will be a lot of need for cloud professionals for different roles, because what we did at a single platform only, we gathered all your IT resources, right? So since even if we talk about your on premises, we need different employees to manage your different services. So same goes for your cloud also. Even at your cloud, to maintain different resources which we are hosting at a single place, we need different employees, right? We need different people to maintain all those things, right? So the demand of your cloud professionals will go a lot high in the upcoming years, right? And these are the top 10 cloud service providers till now, right? So your AWS top the list, and we have your Alibaba Cloud, IBM Cloud, Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, Rackspace Cloud, your VMware, right? So we will be talking about your cloud services through your Microsoft Azure. Okay, let's talk about the benefits and considerations, that what are the benefits that your cloud gives over your on-premises. High availability, right? So as I said, if I tell you today that okay, you have to like use this application right now only, then you will go to the market, you will purchase the laptop, you will come back tomorrow and you will say that okay, we have installed that application, right? But what you can do, you can simply go to your cloud portal, whatever vendor you are using, and you can with a single click purchase that thing, right now sitting at your home only. You don't have to like waste your time to go to market and purchase your new laptop. All the resources are available mostly 24/7, right? I use the term mostly because chances are there, since it is hosted over the internet, chances are there that it can go down. That is why I use the term mostly, right? Mostly all the resources we have in your IT industry, it will be available 24/7, and with a single click. If you want to use 4 VMs right now, with the single click only you can purchase that thing and you can use it over a single machine, that is your laptop. You don't need four different machines to operate over that particular application. You can do that thing on a single device also. Then the second factor is your scalability, right? So when I talk about scalability, it means, so we have your scalability factor, right? So right now in your application example, right, all of the sudden your resource consumption went from 1x to 3x, right? So with your cloud, if you are using a cloud platform to host that particular application, you can add new resources into your particular infrastructure, right? There is no, we can say that there is no planning to do, right? We don't need that okay, we don't have to look at the cost, we don't have to look at the time, that at what particular time we need that. If you need that particular thing right now, we can easily add it over your cloud portal, right? No need to look at your normal infrastructure whether we have a space or not, right? Since we are hosting all these things over your internet, right? Global reach, it is available at every corner of the earth, right? It is available at each and every country. If you are sitting in Australia and you want to run some services which is hosted by Microsoft Azure in your USA, right? Just for example, right? So you can use this particular service sitting in Australia or some other country also, right? It is available at each and every corner of the earth. Predictive cost consideration, right? This is also one of the factors. Now, how this particular thing helps, let's just say that when we try to create the organization, right? As I told you, cost plays a very big factor. So if your budget is around 4 lakhs, right? 400,000, your budget is around. When you add different resources over your cloud portal, it will give you a cost, a rough estimate that, okay, this much you have to pay, right? So we have your calculators over your portals also. I will show you that we have in your Azure, in your AWS thing, right? So whatever resources you are selecting, it will tell you the cost for that, right? So if you are like using all those resources for a month, what will be the cost? If you are using all those resources for a year, for a day, what will be the cost you have to pay for them, right? So this thing is also there. We talk about your security. All the things or the resources are maintained by your cloud vendor, right? So major things which we excluded here is your on-premise security, which is your physical security. You don't have to take care for this particular thing, right? This thing will be automatically maintained by your vendor, your cloud vendor. Disaster recovery, they have multiple backup data centers, right? So if I talk about your particular Azure, two data centers are placed at a distance from around 500 kilometers, right? And both will have backup of each other, right? If you are using the resources from this particular data center and due to some disaster, let's just say some volcano eruption happened and this particular data center was down, right? All the services will be shifted from this center to this particular center, right? So data recovery is very, very fast, right? Your disaster recovery is very, very fast because they simply move all your services which you are running from this particular thing, this particular data center from this particular data center, right? So they have backup data centers also to handle this particular thing, which is your disaster recovery. Fault tolerance. So very basic thing. If I talk about your administration, when we talk about administration in on premises, you have to look at multiple factors, right? If I talk about your networking part, you have to maintain your firewalls, devices, your routers, your switch, right? So if your network is depending on a single switch and that switch is down or your that particular router is down, right? So you all the services will be down. You have to go to the market, you have to purchase a new router, and then you have to change that particular router from your organization so that all the services can go back up again, right? In your cloud, if you are using any service and if that particular service is down, that thing will automatically be shifted to a new service, right? So if you are using a particular firewall application and that thing is down, it will automatically be shifted to a new application, right? So that the user does not face any issue, right? If there is even a technical fault also, there will be a shift from one application to another or one service or one resource to another, so that user does not face any issue. We have elasticity. It is nothing but your auto scaling. Your cloud is very smart, right? I will say your cloud is very smart. If your cloud will see that okay, your machine consumption is becoming very high, right? So your like the VM instance which you are using, like let's just say I have hosted a Windows machine here and it is consuming a lot of resources, it will automatically scale. If I'm using a Windows machine for your 4 GB of RAM, right, and it is running very slow, it will automatically scale from 4 to 6 or 8, right, according to the need, right? So auto scaling is a very good thing in your VM, right? So in your Tinder example, right, I will say that when all of a sudden there was a scale up in the resources, in the services which we were providing to the users, we were facing a problem for this particular scaling part, right? So if we hosted that particular thing in your cloud, it will be very easy because it will be very easy because your cloud will itself detect that the need of that particular service has increased a lot, and it will allot resources according to that itself only, right? It will inform you that okay, right now 100 people were using, and all of a sudden 1000 people started using, and after few minutes all of a sudden 100,000 people were using. So it will auto scale the resources for you, right? It will start giving new resources, and it will start adding new resources to your cloud infrastructure, right? So that you don't face the problem with that particular service that you are using. We have your customer latency capabilities, right? In this, whatever the need of your customer is, right? So if you, when you were like hosting that particular application, right, and there is some new needs like which you want to give for yourself, right? If you want to set some new rules, or if you want to set some new resources which are not available to like all the people, right, you can do that thing also. Your agility is nothing but your configuration, right, according to your requirements, right? So you can set your requirements also, that what all things you need, right, rather than the default ones, right? These are the major advantage of your cloud computing, right? So if I talk about your on-premises setup and your cloud premises setups, we can say that we have a lot of advantage over your cloud, right? If we are hosting our service over our cloud rather than the on-premises, the cost plays a major factor. We can say that we will be seeing a lot of profit if we are using that cloud platform, because your working team will be, your maintenance team will be very low. All the things are maintained by your cloud vendor only. Auto scaling is there, so you don't have to hire the guys for your administration part. It will be done with your cloud environment itself. You can add different resources. All the resources are available to you anytime, right? So if you went to market to purchase that laptop, and if it's not available, so you have to wait for few days, right? But in case of cloud, it will be available at that particular moment only, right? It will give you the cost also, so you can play with your economic part of your organization, right? Disaster recovery is there, so backups are always there. Your configuration setting is there. Whatever the rules you want to play with the service that you are using or that you are hosting, you can set the rules also, right? So we can say that multiple advantages are there to use your cloud computing, right? So someone talked about your capex and opex, right? So we have your capital expenditure and your operational expenditure. It is your capital expenditure is nothing but your upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure, right? So whenever you are trying to create a physical infrastructure, what will be the cost? That will always be greater than your operation, right? That how you are going to operate that particular physical thing, right? Because in this will be purchasing your hardware, mostly your hardware part. So that thing is very costly these days, right? Your servers, your networking part, your networking devices, your security part, your data center part, right? Creating all these things, your hardware parts are very expensive these days, right? And if you are like only purchasing all these things just for 2 months, then you can see that the cost is pretty high. Then what you will do with all these resources after 2 months, right? Operational part is nothing. Once you set up your physical infrastructure, how you will operate, you will be like needing multiple employees to maintain these things, to run these resources which you are using, your physical resources, right? Bill is generated immediately, no depreciation, pay as you go approach, right? So your cloud basically works on this particular thing, opex, pay as you go approach, spend on products and service as needed. So that if some time, like for a month you are using this x particular service, and after a month you are using this y particular service, so you don't have to like keep running this particular x service. If you are not using this, you can even pause this particular thing, right? We have an option of pause also. If you don't want to stop, You can pause also. So what will happen? As soon as you pause this thing, let's just say you purchase a plan to use this particular service for a month, right? There is an option of pause. So after 15 days, you decided, okay, I will not use this service for now, and after a year I will be using this particular service, right? You decided. So what you can do, you can pause this particular service which you have purchased, right? So 15 days will be still there for you to use this particular thing, right? If you have purchased a plan for a month, and after a year, when you have completed this thing and you decided that, okay, we don't need this particular thing, we don't need this particular service in our organization, you can stop this thing, so that you don't have to pay for whatever things this particular service is charging you. You can switch to new service, you can pay for this one as much as you want to use, right? Best example to remember this is renting a car. We only pay for the distance we travel, right? We don't pay for the purchase of the car, right? Purchase is made by someone else. We are just simply using that car to travel a certain distance. Best example to remember this particular thing. Then we have your pay as you go model. This is your cloud model. Pay as you go model. End users only pay for the resources that they use. Advantage, better cost prediction, provides prices for individual resources and services. Each and different resources and services which are there in your cloud, each will have different prices. So you can see that when we try to purchase a shirt, right? A single variety of shirt can have multiple prices just with the brand name, right? If you go for X brand, it will have some cost. If you go for Y brand, it will have some cost. Similarly, even a single resource here can have multiple prices according to your country, that you are using this particular model, from where you are using that thing. It can be also depending on the plan that you are using over this particular account, right? So each and thing will have, you can go as cheap as you want, or you can go as high as you want, right? So cost is all up to you. Billing is based on actual users, right? If I'm using this particular resource or service for a day, I will only pay for a day. If I'm using for 10 days, I will pay for that only, right? If I'm using this particular service for 5 days, right, we have a session for 5 days, so if I'm using this particular service for 5 days, I will be paying for that particular period of time only, right? I don't have to continue with this particular thing. No wastage of resources. As I said, if I purchase a 1 month plan and I'm only using for 20 days, I can pause this particular thing, so that I will have 10 more days left with me. I can use this thing anytime. For sure, there will be a time limit that, okay, within this time limit you have to use, but we have an option that these 10 days are not going wastage, right? I can utilize these 10 days also. So like this, we can use your pay as you go cloud model. Then we have different cloud models. We have your public cloud, we have your private cloud, we have your hybrid cloud, right? So let's discuss your private public cloud. Public cloud, right? Owned and managed by a third party cloud service provider, right? These are your AWS, your Azure, your Google Cloud, right? These are these people, right? These are managed and owned by a third party cloud service provider. We will be using their service, right? We are 49 people right now in this particular meeting, right? We all can use Azure service, we all can use your AWS service at a single time, no problem with that, right? So it is available to your public, it is available to each and every person out there. Provides IT resources and services to multiple organizations and general public. As I said, anyone can use the services which are offered by your public cloud. right? Anyone can use access through a public network, right? So here what they are trying to say, it is access over the internet. So we can like use your express route or your VPNs, or we can use their own backbone network also if you like you want to only use a particular network for your organization only, right? So you can use the network which they have at their backbone also. You can use your VPNs, your express route, right? Whatever things that is accessible through your internet, we can do all these things. Perfect for organizations with growing and fluctuating demand, right? So your scaling factor comes here. If you are starting a new organization, public cloud is the best place. Why? Because you don't have the prediction of future. Your application can take a hit, your scaling can go very high for your application, it can even go very low for your application also, right? It all depends on the services that you are giving through that particular application, right? So this particular thing is perfect for you because each and every resources that is out there in the market, you will get all the resources here, right? That is why. So your fluctuating demands are nothing but your scaling part. Okay, let's talk about your private and hybrid also, right? Private clouds, these are cloud environments created in organizations on-site data center or hosted by third-party service providers, right? Now, what we can do instead of creating and like purchasing all the hardware resources for my organization, I can host all these hardware resources just like cloud, but this cloud is owned by me. I created my own cloud, right? So that I don't have to purchase all these hardware resources, and only I will be using this particular cloud environment, right? So that will be my private cloud. If you guys are using your phone, like of course I won't be like able to access your phone because that thing is private to you, or hosted by third party service providers. I can ask AWS to create a cloud environment for my organization. I can ask Azure to create a cloud environment for me, right? So mostly your government use this particular thing, right? So your government will give a tender to any particular cloud provider that okay, they want their private cloud, they want their private cloud environment, so that that particular cloud environment is not available to the public, right? So your AWS or Azure will create separate data centers for that particular entity. Organization is responsible for operating and maintaining the services they provide, right? Here all the IT resources which we were talking about, these things will be maintained by the particular organization who have created this particular private cloud. In your public, all the resources were maintained by your vendor, your AWS, your Azure, right? All these things were maintained by them. But when it comes to your private, these things will be maintained by the organization itself, right? So if you are using a Windows machine or a Linux server, all the updates, all the configurations, right, all the security part, you yourself have to maintain this thing. Does not provide access to users outside the organization. So as the name suggests only, it is very private, so it will be not accessible to your public. Then we have your hybrid cloud. It is nothing. It is your combination of public and private cloud, right? When we talk about public, we can say that security can play a factor because it is accessible to everyone. It is accessible to general public. Here we can say security is very very high because it is very highly maintained. It is maintained by your organization itself. If we talk about the resources here will be very high because whatever resources are available, it will be available in your public cloud itself. Here we will have limited resources which we will be needing according to our need only, right? We will be using all the resources which we have need for, right? If I combine both these factors, if I'm using these resources, if I'm using this particular security, that will become your hybrid. So I'm using some part of public cloud, I'm using some part of private cloud, right? So here I can say that I'm using your compute part of public and your analytic part. And when it comes to your networking and your storage, I will go for private, right? If I combine these two things, you can see that my scalability will be very high, right? In terms of security, my organizations will be very secure, my environment will be very secure. In terms of resources, multiple resources will be available, there will be high availability, right? So this is your hybrid cloud, right? So this was just an example that how you can create a hybrid cloud. You can use your compute and analytical part from your public cloud, and you can create your own network and storage so that your privacy part, your security part is maintained by you only, right? Not by your cloud. So that is what your hybrid cloud is. If we compare this particular model, we can see that no capital expenditure to scale up because all the things are hosted by your cloud service providers. All the infrastructure part is maintained by your cloud service providers. Hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. Public cloud means less security. See, it depends that what vendor you are using and what is your organization's need, right? Because if I talk about your data, right? If like you don't want to host your data over the cloud, right? But you want to use all the resources that are available for your cloud, right? So that is why you can go for your hybrid cloud, right? So in your private, you have to set your data centers, right? Your private data centers. So whatever hardware resources you need for your data centers, you will purchase those things and you have to maintain all those things. Ideally, hybrids are to select. Yep, for sure. So you can see that here also, hybrid cloud is the most flexible. Yep, no problem. Quick provision and deprovision of application. Anytime you need your elasticity or scaling, very easy. Organization has completely control over the resource and security. So this is what I was saying to you. In your public private cloud, organization has the complete control over what resources what you are using and the security related to that particular resource. Organization determines where to run their applications, right? So it uh, comes to your need, right? What is the need of that particular application, right? So like if you want to create your private channel or your private room, you can go for your private cloud. If you want to run an application which is very available to the n number of users, right? There is no data storage problem, right? You are not taking any data from your customers, right? So you can directly use your public cloud, right? It all comes about your privacy and security part. If you are collecting data, then go for the private part. If you are not collecting the data, you can simply opt for your public cloud. Organization pay only for what they use, right? So whatever resource I'm using at what particular time, I will be paying for that much only. Organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and update. Once I set up this data center, right, I have to maintain this thing, and even after few days, if I close this particular data center, then the cost will be always there, which I purchase, which I use to purchase this particular hardware, right? So if I have to maintain in the future that after 1 or 2 months, I will be seeing that okay, I can use these things again. So I have to keep them updated and I have to maintain all those things. But if like I don't feel like after a month or two I'll be ever needing these things, so I will be having two options, either to sell them or to like throw them in the garbage, right? Only two options I will have here. Right? Hybrid organizations controls security, compliance, and legal requirements. So here you can see that your answer, Mr. SK, in your hybrid cloud, organization controls your security part, your compliance part, and your legal part, right? Your resources, it will be controlled, maintained, and updated by your cloud vendor. Okay. So this was your cloud models. We have three cloud models, your public, private, and hybrid. Mostly in 2021, I will say organizations are creating their own hybrid environment, right? So to remember this particular model, right, best example is public cloud we will be using like in like upcoming sessions, we will be using a public cloud. Private cloud go mostly used by your governments, okay, and your hybrid clouds for your organization, right? Remember like this, okay. So whatever like for us, whatever we are learning, whatever we are playing, planning or playing with any of the cloud service, we will be always using your public part, because we don't have like a place or our own hardware to like work on some IT resources ourselves and some from the public part, right? So whatever resources we will be using from your public sector only, right? Because it should be accessible to me and that should be accessible to you also, right? Private, we don't use those things, right? We cannot have access to those resources. Only the organization which is using that particular private part will have access. So remember it with your government, right? Because you can see that you are not allowed to enter some of the government premises, right? Because only the authorized people are allowed to enter that particular place, right? So try to remember like this your cloud model parts. Then we have your different services. Basically, when we talk about your services, we talk about three services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service, right? These are the three things which we majorly talk about, right? Other than this, there are multiple: your security as a service, your container as a service, your function as a service, right? But when you learn these things, you will see that all the other services are part of this particular section only, right? So we will be talking about infrastructure as a service, what this thing is, what are the benefits, right? What is your platform as a service, what is your software as a service, what are the benefits, right? Why we can use this particular thing in our model. Then the first is your infrastructure as a service. Build IT infrastructure by renting servers, virtual machines, storage, networks, and operating system from cloud provider on a pay-as-you-go model. So you can see in this, it is talking about all the hardware resources. Instead of buying the hardware resources, your servers, your machines, right, your devices which you are using, your storage servers, your networking devices, right, cables and all those things which we use in our physical infrastructure, they provide all those things in your IaaS from a cloud provider on a pay as you go model. If I want to use this thing for 4 days, I'll be paying for that only. If I want to use for 10, if I use it for 30 months, I'll be paying for that much only, right? So you can see that the cost becomes very, very less because I don't have to purchase them physically. These are all, if I talk about on-premises, your hardware, your servers, your machines, your devices, your storage devices, your networking devices, your operating system that you purchase, right? These things are all part of your infrastructure, right? So they are providing this particular thing over the cloud on the basis of pay as you go. So for what particular amount you want to use, pay for that much only. So cost is very, very low. If I compare from on-premises to your cloud, cost is very, very low because hardware cost is very high. If you want to purchase a laptop of 8 GB, the cost will be very high as compared to the instant which your cloud will provide you, right? The cost will be very, very high. When we will be seeing that what will be the requirements, what are different requirements for a particular machine or the cloud, you will see that cost will be more than, I will say, 4 times or 5 times, because we don't need a laptop for a week. That is why, right? So cost plays a major factor here. We can say that this particular service is the most flexible one. Anytime you want to use that thing. If you don't want to use, don't use, right? Don't pay for that particular thing, stop that particular service, right? It's the most flexible one. All the applications and services are up to the consumer, right? Your updates, like if you have rented them somewhere, the updates, the patches, right? All the things that we do on the physical premises will also be up to you only, right? The only thing is we are not having this as a physical store, right? The consumer will configure and manage the hardware, right? So I will be making sure that if I purchase 4 virtual machines, to whom or to which particular section I should give those particular machines, right? So all the things, the management and maintenance part will be up to me only, right? The consumer. The only part is that I don't have to purchase them in real time, right? The only part is here. So you can see that in your IaaS, we have your servers and storage, your network security and your firewalls, your data center, physical plant and building, right? Whatever things we used in all these things will be provided by your cloud provider, right? So basically we are like using a virtual infrastructure rather than a physical one in your infrastructure as a service. Then we have platform as a service. It's provide on-demand and runtime environment for developing, testing, and deploying software applications. So you can say that this particular platform is for your developers. So if any one of you is like into software engineering, right, best platform to use, because these things are already maintained by your infrastructure as a service. What new things which we get is your operating system and development tools, database management, business analytics. Like if you like, for example, if you are using Android Studio, right, in your laptop, right, you can simply use that thing over your cloud also, right? That will be under your platform as a service, right? So your Google App Engine on your Google Cloud is the best example for this particular thing, your platform as a service, right? So here we have to maintain your operating system also and your development tools, database management, and business analytics, right? These things will be maintained. So this particular platform is mostly for your developers. or someone where some place where we are managing our database, right? This particular platform will be for that. Then we have software as a service. Your Microsoft Office 365, your Google Calendars, your Gmail, your Dropbox, your Netflix, your Amazon Prime, all the softwares which are hosted over your cloud and we are using, that is your software as a service. User connect to and use applications over the internet, typically on subscription basis. For example, Microsoft, right? So when you pay for your YouTube music, you have to take a subscription, right? So for that particular amount only you will be able to access those resources. When you take subscription for your Netflix, for your Amazon Prime, for that particular amount only you can use that particular service. For your Gmail, right? So if I talk about your drive, we have 15 GB free storage, right? But in some cases if it exceeds more than that, what you can do, you can purchase this particular resource, right? You can add 10 more GB or 20 more GB according to your needs, right? So anything, any software service which is hosted over your cloud will be your software as a service. So you can see that hosted applications and apps are your software as a service, right? So if I compare your cloud services, most flexible cloud service, configure and manage the hardware for your application, right? So whatever your hardware part is, your on-premises part is, for IT administrators use it, right? So your administration part comes under your infrastructure as a service. Here we will be talking about your developers, mostly used by your developers only. Developers, or your, we can add your DevOps people also, right? These people use this particular platform. Softwares, any end user use this particular thing. Any end user. We all are end users. Even in our own environment, we are using this particular service. So if you are using Netflix for a month, you are paying the price to use to watch a particular movie, right? User pay for the software they use on a subscription basis. Yep. Even when you we can say your OneDrive. Best example, if you are using Windows OneDrive, after a particular time you will see that the storage part you have to purchase, so that there will always be a backup for your system over your Windows cloud, your OneDrive cloud, right? Now if I talk about some of the benefits, that what are the benefits of this particular service, this particular service and this particular service. So this reduces your financial risk, as I already said. Cost, we don't have to purchase the hardware ourselves, right? These things are already been purchased by your cloud provider. What you are doing, you are simply using that particular hardware on their premises. Okay, so you will access those hardware resources from the portal, your cloud service provider portal, and through that you can use each and every service which comes under your infrastructure, your all hardware IT resources. Deployment also becomes very fast, right? We can say that since we are not like, we don't have to waste a lot of time to create a list and go out shopping, like we can simply look at that particular portal what all things are available, simply click, select and purchase. Very fast, right? Deployment becomes very fast. So if I decide today that okay, I need to create an infrastructure of my organization, I can do that in an hour, right? I don't have to go to market and purchase all the resources. four PCs, two servers, all those things. I don't have to do that. Right? Deployment becomes very easy. So in an hour, I can host my own application. I can host my own infrastructure for my organization. Geographical advantage, again, best example. If I created a on-premises environment, people working here will always have to visit here, right? So if let's just say this particular place is London, I created my infrastructure at London. So anyone outside the London, if I hire someone, he have to come to London to work in this particular premises, right? But if I hosted this particular infrastructure over your cloud, even if you are sitting in Australia or USA or India, you can work from there also, right? So this becomes very easy. Unlimited scalability, as I already said. Resources are mostly available 24/7. There is no scale for that, right? There are multiple data centers that this your top three clouds are hosting right now, right? So resources are always getting added. So even if you want to use four more servers at a single time, you can purchase them on a single click. Okay, you don't have to go to market, or you don't have to wait for the money to come to like pay the bills of that particular hardware part, right? You can with a simple click purchase that particular thing and create a billing cycle over your cloud environment. Okay, so these are the few advantages which we get when we use your IaaS service. Then advantages of platform as a service. Here, like we can host all your development part, right? Whatever development, there are tools which we use for your development, for your DevOps, but those tools can cost like sometimes very, very costly. They can become very, very costly, right? So here we can say that this thing provide you all the tools at a very cheap cost, and it is affordable. It can be affordable by anyone. You can start developing on multiple platform also. We have multiple platforms in this particular platform as a service. So in a single go, you decided to learn with iOS, then you want to move to Android, so you can move it in a single go, right? You don't have to like purchase or you download all the resources which your Android is needing, right? You don't have to wait for that. Then at last we have your software as a service. Talking about the advantage of this particular thing, it is very easy to get started, right? Anyone can use this particular thing. Accessibility, very easily accessible, because it is available to all the end users, right? Anyone out there can use this particular service. There are always automatic updates. You don't have to do any updates on these servers which are hosting this particular service, right? So you might have seen that you don't have to update for a movie over your Netflix, right? These things are automatically being maintained by your Netflix. These are very affordable, right? Because you can see we use this on your subscription. So let's just say I only want to use Netflix over a month, and I decide that okay, in 1 month only I can watch 40 movies, right? So why waste money for a year? I can only use this particular thing for a month only, right? So it can be according to me only that for how long I need to use this particular software. And we can like with your infrastructure as a service, we can also add here your financial risk, right? So again, cost becomes very, very low, right? So these are the three major services which your cloud provides to you, right? So if we compare this particular thing, who will share what different responsibility if someone is using this particular thing, right? Red part is for your cloud provider, blue part is for you, right? in your on premises, each and everything will be maintained by you, right? So these are your IT resources which you use on your premises. Your data, your application, runtime, operating system, virtual machine, compute, networking, storage, right? So we will go from bottom to top, right? First we'll be needing infrastructure. This will be your infrastructure part, your compute, networking, and storage. This will be your platform where you will be creating a platform part for your services that you are using in your operating system, and this will be your software part, your database and application management, right? If I talk about infrastructure as a service, you can see that these three things will be maintained by your cloud provider. So you don't have to purchase these things, right? But over these things, like I purchased in your compute part, I purchased 4 VM instance, right? I purchased 4 virtual machines. Now it will be up to me that which machine to use, which operating system to be given to which particular thing, what will be the update on that particular machine. All those things will be up to me. They are only providing me your infrastructure part, your compute, your networking, and storage part. Other than that, all the things which we require in our on premises or your private cloud, these things will be maintained by your user only, right? So these things will be maintained by your user only. When we talk about platform as a service, your runtime environment, operating system, virtual machines, compute, networking, and storage part, these things will be maintained by your cloud provider. Okay, so we can say that your infrastructure is already being maintained by your cloud. We added your runtime environment, your operating system, and your virtual machine, right? So your cloud provider is giving you a platform that go and run your services on this particular platform. We have provided everything to you. Now go and perform, right? So that is that thing. Now what you can do over this particular platform, you can run your different applications, and you can manage your data of that particular application, right? This particular thing will be maintained by you guys, the consumers. Then we have your software as a service, the last part. All the things other than your data and access will be maintained by your cloud only. All the things other than your data and access. Best example, if I share you your Google Drive link, right? You all know Google Drive is hosted on Google Cloud, right? If I share a drive link, I get multiple options whom to give access of that particular link. I can give access to people I added to the drive folder. I can give access to people who have this particular link, right? So we have different access options, that who can get access to the information that is available in that particular folder in your Google Drive. Best example, right? So these things will always be maintained by your user, right? So you can say that this complete model compromises your shared responsibility, right? Best way to learn this particular thing, right? Let me show you one thing. I have one image which will like easily make you understand that how you can easily remember that what things are being maintained by what environment, right? So just give me a sec. Right. So where we completely start or bake a pizza from the scratch, right? So this we will do at our home itself, right? I will create my own ingredients, and through that ingredient, I will bake my own pizza, right? This is one thing. Then second thing is take and bake. Take and bake is nothing. I will purchase the ingredients from the market. Then I will come home and I will use those ingredients and make a pizza for myself. Right? This is second thing. Third thing is your pizza delivery, where I simply call your Domino's or your Pizza Hut and I will order a pizza. They will come and deliver that pizza to me. Right? And the last thing is dining out. I will go to Domino's or Pizza Hut and I will eat my pizza there only. Right? Now, how we can compare this particular thing with your services, your cloud services? Your made at home is nothing but your on premises. It's nothing but your on premises. Each and everything that you do here, from making your own ingredients to bake your own pizza, right, and then to eat, these things will be maintained by you only, right? These all things will be maintained by you only, right? When I talk about take and bake, I went to the market. I purchased the things which were already there, right? So your cheese, your toppings, your tomato sauce, your pizza dough, they already were there in the market. What I did, I simply purchased these things and I baked my pizza and ate that particular thing, right? In your platform as a service, I delivered the pizza, right? So I don't have to worry about baking the pizza, right? My end goal is to get a pizza at my home, right? So all the drinks and table, this thing will be available at my home. What I used the service that was provided by the Domino's or Pizza Hut, that they will create a pizza for me and they will deliver it at my home, and at my home at my dining tables with some drinks I will eat that particular pizza. Dining out is nothing but your software as a service. All the things are maintained by your vendor. Your table, your drinks, your gas, oven, fire, all the things will be maintained by your Domino's. Right. So try to remember your service model with this particular thing. Your traditional on-premises is nothing where you start baking your pizza from the scratch at your home only. Your infrastructure as a service is nothing but purchasing the ingredients to make or bake a pizza and eat that particular thing. Platform as a service is nothing. You are getting all the things. The only thing you are needing is a dining table and few drinks, which is available at your home. And your software as a service is nothing. Each and everything, even your drinks and dining table, will be provided to you from the vendor.